Breaking today, President Trump says North Korea wants to resume talks with the United States, but the president says not so fast. Watch this.
We want to talk also only under the right conditions. Otherwise, we're not talking. So they want to talk. First time. They want to talk. And we'll see what happens. That's my attitude. We'll see what happens.
Fair enough. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, China's Communist Party preparing constitutional changes that would eliminate presidential term limits and allow President Xi to basically stay in power indefinitely. Joining me now to talk about that and lots of other issues, the author of Nuclear Showdown, Gordon Chang. Gordon, where do we begin? Let's begin with North Korea saying, yeah, we'd like to talk to the United States, or at least we're open to it. Your response?
Well, the North Koreans didn't say they were willing to talk to us about their nuclear program. But
True.
So we don't know exactly what Kim Yong-chol, the North Korean head of the delegation to the closing ceremony, what he actually said to Moon Jae-in, the South Korean president. I would have actually liked to have heard the North Koreans themselves say that. But, you know,
Right.
On the other hand, we have said we're willing to talk to the North Koreans. When Vice President Mike Pence was coming back from the opening ceremony on Air Force Two, that famous interview with the Washington Post, he said, we are willing to talk to the North Koreans without preconditions. That's a major concession from the Trump administration.
But there are those that say North Korea wanted two things: to continue to try and create a wedge between South Korea and the U.S., and also buy themselves more time to expand their missile program, and that they've been successful on both fronts. What would you say to that?
Not really, because the Trump administration is continuing with sanctions. We saw that on Friday with the designations of 58 entities. That's important because
it's having an effect.
It's already having an effect before those sanctions. Okay. We're seeing, for instance, reports that North Korea might run out of foreign exchange by October. You know, that soldier who defected in November, he had uncooked kernels of corn in his digestive tract, indicating he was scrounging for food. And he was like the best of North Korean soldiers because he was posted to the demilitarized zone. So there's a lot of evidence that North Korea is really hurting right now because of both Trump sanctions and UN sanctions. And we're just going to continue to pile them on, even though we're willing to talk to North Korea about its nuclear program.
Back off on the sanctions.
Certainly, and we shouldn't.
I want to talk about China and this constitutional change that basically allows President Xi to stay forever. Before, it was like 2 terms of 5 years. Is that correct? Now he can go on forever. What is your reaction to that?
Well, Xi Jinping wants to accumulate absolute power. Now, this term limit...
He doesn't already have it?
He's getting close. He's getting close.
Yeah.
This term limit only applies to presidential post.
Okay.
That is the least important of his post. Okay. The most important is General Secretary of the Communist Party, where there are no term limits. But the convention has been 2 terms for both General Secretary, 2 terms as president. And so what Xi Jinping is basically doing is accumulating power that we haven't seen since Mao Zedong, the founder of the People's Republic.
What implications does that have, Gordon?
How
does it change things?
It makes things worse on all fronts. Xi Jinping has been closing up the Chinese economy. He's been exercising more state control over markets. He's been much more belligerent, trying to grab territory from neighbors, trying to close off the global commons, which affects us, of course, because we defend freedom of navigation. China is really going in extremely dangerous directions. This is sort of like you see Germany pre-World War I. They sort of dropped Bismarck, who had been wanting caution, and you then have the Kaiser just going really bad. This is pretty much the same thing.
Yikes. All right, Gordon Chang, we're out of time. Great stuff as always. Gordon, thank you very much.